Hi everyone. In the modern world or in the industrialized world, there are some diseases which are increasing, especially in the industrialized countries or rich countries, and these diseases are due to some genetic problems and some environmental and the lifestyle problems. Diabetes, there are two types of diabetes. Diabetes insipidus, which is related to polyuria due to some tumor or increased some hormones in the brain, known as diabetes insipidus, and the other type of diabetes which is very common is the diabetes mellitus. So in the layman's language or in the language of physician, when we say diabetes, we are talking about the diabetes mellitus. It is a part of metabolic disorder. This is not completely itself is a part of the metabolic disorder. What happens? We get our nutrition, or all animals are getting their nutrition from the plants. This is the plant, which is having green leaves as receptors, and branches of the plant, and here it is the sun providing the sunlight. What happens in the presence of sunlight? In these leaves and the plant, there is photosynthesis in the presence of the carbon dioxide and the water. In the presence of sunlight, the carbon dioxide and the water are making the polysaccharide. The polysaccharide, and this polysaccharide is known as starch. There are some other polysaccharides which can't be digested by the human beings and other animals, but these are digested by some bacteria which are residing in the intestine of the lower animals or the quadrupeds like the cow, buffalo and other animals. But human being is not able to digest these complicated or compound polysaccharides, but human being is able to digest the starch. This starch is working as a fuel for day-to-day activities of the human being, for the growth and for the healing or repair process of the human body. So for the requirement of the energy, for the growth and development and the repair of the human body cells. Now what happens? This starch is ingested by human being. So this is the human being. This starch is ingested by this human or this person or the subject. The compound molecules of the carbohydrate or the polysaccharide is broken in very simple or in the simplest form of the molecules. This molecule is known as glucose. I will talk a lot about glucose in my lecture on the diabetes mellitus, but this is the introductory lecture. So simplest form of sugar is the glucose, broken in glucose, and cells are taking glucose as a fuel. In the presence of oxygen, the glucose is broken in carbon dioxide and water. Some ATPs are formed which are utilized by the cells for their metabolic requirements, for the energy for the body, for locomotion and day-to-day activities, for the intelligence activities of the brain. There is requirement of the ATPs which are generated by breakdown of the glucose in the cells. Again, this CO2 and H2O which are produced by the animal cells are converted in the starch in the presence of the sunlight. So the highest center of the energy is the sunlight, and this is a cycle. It is starting from here and starting from here, and it is never ending cycle. It's quite interesting. The never ending cycle of nutrition. The human beings and animals are getting nutrition from plants, and plants are receiving the nutrition from the animals in the presence of the sunlight. Now, what is the real problem in the metabolic disease diabetes mellitus? This is related to the nutrition. Here I have told already, we are taking the starch which is converted in the glucose. First of all, I will explain the metabolism of the glucose in nutshell. This is the human body, and it is having the GIT, gastrointestinal tract or alimentary canal. Alimentary canal, alimentary nutrition, related to nutrition. So it is simply the nutrition canal. It is having a large tube, the esophagus, stomach, the pylorus of the stomach, duodenum. This is the diaphragm, and it is having large sequential convoluted tube having a length of 5 to 6 meters. So this is the convoluted tube, and it increases the surface area for absorption by some circular folds known as the plexi circularis. It is having some villi, it is having some micro villi. So these all are increasing the surface area of the small intestine, which is formed by the jejunum and ileum. So it is increasing 3 times, villi are increasing 10 times, and the microvilli are increasing the surface area of the jejunum and ileum up to 600 times, 3 times, 10 times and 20 times. So area of the duodenum, jejunum and ileum is up to 200 meter square. Square meter. This is almost equal to a big house, double story house, 200 meter square. So this is the jejunum, and this is the ileum, part of the small intestine. Why I am talking about this small intestine, this jejunum and ileum? Especially the jejunum, initial 2/5 part of the small intestine after the duodenum. The initial part is the duodenum, after that the jejunum and then ileum. What is the importance of this jejunum? This jejunum, the internal luminar surface of the jejunum is having, this is the inner surface of the jejunum. I will cut it from here and reflect the fold in this direction. So I have cut it from here. What it is having? It is having circular folds. It is having some villi, these villi are having columnar cells, single layer of the columnar cells. These cells are known as enterocytes. I will not talk in detail what are the crypts of the Leverkusen and what are the pair patches, but in very simple language, it is having the plexi circularis, it is having the villi which are multicellular and formed by elevation as well as the inside the plexi circularis. So these are having some depressions as well as elevations. These are the simple tubular glands, and it is also having sub goblet cells. So goblet cells are secreting mucin, and this mucin after mixing with water is forming the mucus which will lubricate the chyme. So this is the columnar cell known as enterocyte. This enterocyte on its surface is having some small tiny elevations known as microvilli. So I will draw a single columnar cell known as the enterocyte. A cell is having multiple domains. This is the single cell. This is a single cell. What? This is having multiple surfaces. So this is the apical domain. 1, 2, 3 and 4. These 4 are the lateral domains which are attached to the neighboring cells by the same lateral domains, and this is the basal part of the cell resting on the basement membrane. So its apical part is having tiny elevations. A single cell is having 10 to 40 or more than 40 elevations. These are known as the microvilli. It is having microvilli hair like, and these microvilli are increasing the surface area of the jejunum up to 20 times. Why I am talking about these microvilli, villi and pleci circularis? These all are helping in breakdown and absorption of the simplest molecule of the nutrition, the glucose. This starch and other glucose which are taken, it may be bisaccharide, the sugar, or the sucrose, maybe lactose, and maybe some other carbohydrate. These all are broken down in the simplest molecule, the glucose. And it is formed by the carbon dioxide and water, as I have told already. It is having 6 carbon atoms. So this is the molecules, and all source of the energy for the animal. So this molecule is playing key role in the metabolism of all body activities, and this disease, the diabetes mellitus, is related to metabolism of this molecule, the glucose. What happens? The enterocytes are surrounded by some glycoproteins. These glycoproteins will attract the bisaccharides and polysaccharides towards the enterocytes. This is the enterocytes. So these are attracting the bisaccharides and polysaccharides, and if the instant nutrition is taken in form of the glucose, then also glucose or fructose. These molecules are attracted by these microvilli and the glycoprotein covering of the microvilli. Now, here, by the activities of some enzymes, this polysaccharide and bisaccharide are broken in the simplest form of the sugar or carbohydrate, the glucose. This glucose is absorbed by these enterocytes. This glucose is absorbed by this cell, the enterocyte. Now, what is the structure of the villi? I was talking about the microvilli. This is the complete structure of the microvilli, and it is having the goblet cells and enterocytes, which are replaced every 5 days or 3 to 5 days by some tearing movements caused by abrasion of the passing chyme and food particles. This is the goblet cell. This is the goblet cell, and this is the goblet cell. All other cells are the enterocytes, which are involved in the absorption of the nutrients, not only glucose but also amino acids, also fatty acids and the glycerol. When we take fatty meal, the fat is converted in fatty acids and the glycerol. When we eat proteins, proteins are broken down in the amino acids. So it is having a central blind lymphatic vessel. The core of the villi is formed by the central lymphatic vessel. Due to absorption of the fatty acids and glycerol, it looks white or milky, so it is known as lacteal. The large trunk of the blood vessels and nerves are located in the submucosa. This is part of the mucosa. It is having an artery. It is having an artery. This artery is having the blood which is coming from the left ventricle, the oxygenated blood. So there are two phenomena: exchange of gases. It is bringing oxygen, so it is taking carbon dioxide and giving oxygen to the enterocytes and the other structure of the lumen and wall of the intestine, and it is absorbing the nutrients. It is absorbing the nutrients and it is taking the oxygen is taken by these cells and it is receiving the carbon dioxide also. This carbon dioxide rich or oxygen poorly oxygenated and nutrient rich blood is returning from the villi in the vein. These small veins, especially from the jejunum and ileum, are draining in the superior mesenteric vein. So this blood from the multiple villi is draining in the superior mesenteric vein. This is the superior mesenteric vein, which is receiving multiple jejunal and ileal branches which are having nutrient rich but poorly oxygenated blood. This blood is running in the superior mesenteric vein. This blood in the superior mesenteric vein is poorly oxygenated but nutrient rich. This superior mesenteric vein is joining the splenic vein and it is forming the portal vein. This portal vein is draining in the liver. So this is the liver. It will divide in the right and the left portal veins. So what is happening here? The arterial blood is reaching in the villi. It is providing oxygen for cellular metabolism. It is receiving carbon dioxide, which is the end product of the cellular metabolism. This is known as internal respiration. And it is also receiving the nutrients which are absorbed by these enterocytes. And this nutrition rich and poorly oxygenated blood is returning back through these veins. These teeny veins are joining each other and all are draining in the superior mesenteric vein. This superior mesenteric vein is joining the splenic vein, and splenic vein and superior mesenteric vein are collectively forming the portal vein. This portal vein is draining in the liver, the right and the left portal veins. The right portal vein is more vertical and small, left one is larger and obliquely placed and draining in the left lobe of the liver. This blood from the superior mesenteric artery is nutrient rich blood, and this blood is mainly passing through the right portal vein. So metabolic activities in the right lobe are rich. Why this blood is going to liver and not passing directly in the right atrium? Because the liver is the highest center of the metabolic activities inside the body. Again, the liver is the highest center of all metabolic activities inside the human body and the other animal bodies. The higher animals, I am talking about the higher animals. So liver is the highest center of the metabolic activities. So before moving the blood in the right atrium, it is draining in the liver for the metabolic activities. The one more interesting organ in the abdomen, I have talked about the jejunum and ileum. Again I will draw the esophagus, the stomach. This is the pylorus and this is the first part, second part, third and the fourth part of the duodenum. C-shaped duodenum is holding the head of a fleshy abdominal organ known as pancreas. So this is holding a long tailed having body, head and neck. This is the tail of the pancreas reaching up to lienorenal ligament. Lienorenal ligament is the fold of the peritoneum connecting the tip or apex of the left kidney and hilum of the spleen. So tail is reaching up to the lienorenal ligament, and this is the head, neck, body and tail of the pancreas. Why I am talking about this organ? This organ is playing key role in the metabolism of the glucose, in the metabolism of the fats and in the metabolism of the proteins. So this is the organ and it is having this is the pancreas. This is having exocrinal part and this is also having some endocrinal islets. It is having about 1 million islets of Langerhans. So the pancreas is having exocrinal part which is secreting some enzymes for digestion. The exocrinal part is secreting some enzymes for the digestion of the food, and the endocrinal part of the pancreas is formed by the 1 million islets of the Langerhans. I will talk about only endocrinal part. What is endocrinal gland? The gland which is endocrinal, it is not inside the stomach. I will draw here. It is not related to the stomach. So a gland which is having bunch of the islets, and all endocrine glands in the body are ductless glands. These are not having duct. So endocrine is ductless. The ductless glands are endocrine, and these glands secrete their secretion directly in the blood. So these are ductless glands. So this is the endocrinal part. So it is richly or profusely supplied by the blood. So this is the endocrinal gland, richly supplied by the blood, and it is having islets of the Langerhans. How the islet of the Langerhans is formed? It is having multiple types of the cells. It is having multiple types of the cells. The central core of the islet is formed by some cells known as beta cells, and surrounding part is having other cells, the alpha cells, the delta cells, and outermost and peripheral part is having PP cells. So this is the islets, and it is having the beta cells. These beta cells are secreting the hormone. These beta cells are secreting the very interesting and key hormone playing important role in the carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism, the insulin. I will talk a lot about the insulin and beta cells. It is having alpha cells which are secreting the glucagon. This is also hormone playing important role in the metabolism of the carbohydrates, proteins and the fats. The delta cells, these are the delta cells, and these are secreting the somatostatin. These cells are secreting the somatostatins. So beta cells are secreting the insulin, the key player of the metabolic activities of the cells of the animal body. The alpha cells playing key role, not major but also playing key role in the metabolic activities of the animal cells, and the delta cells which are secreting the somatostatin. I will not talk about the somatostatin in this lecture. And the PP cells. These are the PP cells. PP cells are secreting pancreatic polypeptide. There is centrifugal flow of the blood from the center to the periphery. So from the beta cells to the periphery. How the insulin is formed and how the insulin is secreted or degranulated from the beta cells, how the insulin circulates and reaching in the liver, in the adipose cells. I will talk in separate lecture when I will talk about only the pancreas and the insulin. So there is beta cells which are secreting insulin, the alpha cells which are secreting the glucagon, the delta cells are secreting the somatostatin, and the PP cells which are secreting pancreatic polypeptide.